6:32. Nice to see everyone virtually. Hope you all are doing well. So for the consent agenda, previous minutes, any discussion on the previous minutes, concerns, thoughts? So if none, maybe if someone wants to make a motion to accept the previous minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, thank you, Jean Marie. I'll do it by roll. Emily,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Polly,
Aye.
Jean Marie,
Aye.
and Mary is an aye. I got everyone, eh? Yeah, okay. Oh, Morgan, I forgot to ask you if we've got any visitors today.
We don't. No
Okay.
visitors so
No
far.
visitors. Okay. Does anyone have any need to move or shift the schedule around for tonight as far as the prioritization is concerned? Yes, Jean Marie.
I have another commitment. I was hoping to hop off at 7 to get to, but am I going to leave you without a quorum then?
Yes, unfortunately, right, Morgan? Would that, or no?
I don't think so.
No.
Quorum is
You
4.
still have 4.
Oh, no, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are good to go at 6:30. If you need to dip out, then we can still continue.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, yeah, of course. Absolutely. Okay. So no need to recognize visitors. So that means, Morgan, you are up.
Okay, you have the report in your packets. We have received a draft of the SU audit, and Mary Deese and I have sent back some corrections. I'm hoping that we'll have the final version in the next week or two. And then once that's in, I'll share it with this board. So in your April meeting, I'll probably bring a request for a motion to accept that audit. My guess is that the town audits will start dropping next week. And so as soon as we have final or relatively final versions of those, I will send them out to you and your fellow district board members. In terms of the financial reports that are in your packet, I can answer any questions on those. I am at this point anticipating that special ed should come in fairly significantly lower than budgeted this year. And that's primarily due to transportation bills and tuition payments that we anticipated and have not materialized. Those changes are probably COVID related, unfortunately. And as always with that population and with those, with the size of those bills, things can change pretty quickly, but there are no concerns in the special ed budget at the moment. No concerns about the central office budget either. We are hoping to finish by the end of this week the billing for the coronavirus relief fund grant. And that is the money from the state, some of which when we submit expenses for it, we get to keep, and some of which they're going to claw back some local ed fund money. And so I don't want to predict where we're going to end up on that yet, but in terms of the rate that we're spending money, I don't see any concerns there. Any questions on those reports? Okay. In terms of the central office space update, the town has agreed to sign a 6-month lease. So we will have this space until the end of December of this year, at least. And then as I put in my packet to you, your lawyers advise that if we are going to negotiate a lease with a new entity, we do need to bid that out. And so my plan is to get something out in the next few weeks. We will advertise that publicly, and probably look for proposals to come back by the end of April. Because this is a pretty unique situation, we're not just going out and buying furniture or computers or something that's really easily comparable. There's going to be a lot of flexibility in the big bid documents, and then a lot of flexibility in terms of your decision-making process after that. And I anticipate that whoever bids on this and is the ultimate entity that we want to negotiate with, that there will be a back and forth process, especially to the extent that we're asking them to build out a space. And then just to recap for folks, I think we covered this at the last meeting, but there's been about a half a dozen places that we've been looking at. Right now, the Pearly Block, which is the old pharmacy building in Enosburg, to me feels like the most likely location. I think the Armory building in Enosburg potentially could be in play. People's Plaza up in Richford could be in play. And it seems like the space in the DePatie block and in the Berkson block in Enosburg, both are not going to be adequate to meet the needs that we've laid out. And then I will say, because we are bidding this out, I think we've done our due diligence in terms of chasing down any potential spaces that we think are out there, but we could be surprised, and there could be one or two other places that come in and put in a bid. And so, in a way, that would be great if we had some, process in April or May that gave us multiple options to look at.
Morgan, can you clarify a little bit? I mean, the bid piece, are we required, like we are required legally to have, I'm just trying to kind of my head around like how the bidding process has worked historically when we're, say, bidding out, the big propane tank project at MES.
Sure.
And I can't quite draw a line from how I've seen the process go to how to look for real estate, because it assumes that we have three in the past with what we've needed 3 bids for things over a certain amount of money. It seems a little strong, like kind of contortion to think about how to do that while when we, if we just land on a good place to rent.
Right. So it is weird, and it is a little bit fuzzy because of the difference in statute between districts and supervisory unions, but it's pretty crystal clear in statute that any lease or construction over $15,000 has to be bid out if you are a school district. Your lawyers are saying they think that it's reasonable to assume that that covers supervisory unions as well. Construction is a different animal, and doing things like the fuel project is a different animal. And so what we'll do for this is the lease will kind of lay out, or the RFP will lay out the specs that we're looking at. So we'll talk about the location that would be ideal. We'll talk about the square footage that will be ideal, what the space would require in terms of ADA accessibility and the right configuration so that we would have offices and conference space and things like that. And basically, I've captured the conversations that this board has had over the past few months. We will put that out, and if we get, if we're fortunate and get 3 entities that come back to us with proposals, I anticipate we would go on site tours for each of them, and then we would evaluate them based on that criteria. So centrality within the SU, the proposed cost of the lease, any sort of cost sharing in terms of the build out, and then this, more amorphous area of, what is the functionality of the space, and is it, is it modern? Is it well lit? Is it conducive to people working? And things like ADA compliance are going to be pretty easy to check yes or no, but there are definitely going to be some areas of this evaluation that are a little more subjective than somebody coming in and doing a propane conversion.
Okay.
And you're not
And-
obligated to go with like your lowest bidder. It's much different than a larger project. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, great. That was my question too, that we're not then penned in by the lowest bid. That can prioritize actually the benchmarks that we're trying to achieve with the new office space.
Right. Yeah, by statute, you're really only penned in on those bigger construction projects because you as the board are obligated to write the RFP in such a way that you're making a real apples to apples comparison. And in theory, the only difference at that point is price. And then we've got some restrictions in terms of our internal procedures, but they don't really kick in unless you're looking at a much bigger ticket item, and again, something that you can compare.
Thanks, Morgan. And have you had more contact with the pharmacy folks?
I have, and the way that it would work, there are really two paths where this could go. One is this group that I had mentioned that is looking to come together and purchase the building and do a major overhaul to it. They would like us to be one of their anchor tenants in that space. And so I think you as a board would have a lot of strength in those negotiations in terms of what the eventual space would look like. That process will, I think, continue on into the summer. So if they are the only bidder or they are the most interesting bidder to the board, I think we would then start to engage with them in May about specifically what the space would look like and what a timeline would look like in terms of us moving in. The other track that could take is that if that falls through, there is still an owner of this building who has 5,000 square feet on that first floor that he would like to have rented. And so if this group doesn't move forward, we could still in theory move forward with him. And there is always the possibility that there's a 5,000 square foot building sitting out there that none of us have recognized before, but I think that's a bit of a long shot.
Yeah. And Polly, is there any update from the select board? Have you all had another meeting and with anyone bringing up the armory space?
No, right now we're in talks with environmental engineers to go in and do a building sweep. So it's still in pretty much infancy stages.
So if there are no other questions on that, the only two others that I wanted to tip you to, one is that the yield bill has not moved much farther. I've been speaking to you about that in your local meetings and just wanted to let you know that it's still sitting at the number that we published in the flyer, which I believe will be delivered in Enosburg and Richford tomorrow or Friday, and then in the remaining towns Friday or Monday. So that is going out. And then the other update is maybe a little inside baseball, but as you know, we are going through this transition to a new software system for accounting, which in theory goes live July 1st. And some folks in the agency of ed have tipped that they're exploring putting that process on pause. I don't know how real that is, if it's just to make the folks in the field feel better as they've been pointing out deficiencies in this system, or if it is sort of rattling the cage of the software provider to try to get them to roll out some upgrades faster. I will let you know as I hear more, but I think it'll be a pretty short-term extension, 3 months, which would be probably less helpful than just going live on July 1st, or maybe it might be as long as 6 months, which would not be great, but a little bit better.
Great, thanks, Morgan. That was last bit from you?
That's all I have unless there are any questions.
Okay, perfect. All right, so Lynn, you are up.
Okay, so under personnel, I have one thing I would like to talk about under unpaid leave request. So I have one staff member who is planning to travel over the February break. It is non-essential travel. In the MOU that we created, let me just pull that up. I had it ready so that I could refer to it. In the MOU that we created with the union, the language for quarantine requirements not covered under sections 1 through 5 above, including for non-essential travel and for participation in multi-household gatherings, employees may access their available personal or CTO leave as per the master agreement. If there's no such leave remaining, the employee shall request an unpaid leave in writing to the superintendent. So you have an employee who is making a request to use 2 unpaid days after the break, up to 2 unpaid days after the break to be able to fulfill the quarantine requirement upon return. So that will require board approval. It's not something I can do on my own.
I would rather them quarantine than come in the building. So yeah, if that's how it rolls, then yes.
I wonder,
And-
Lynn, about staffing though, the effect that has on, I'm sure you've considered that.
So at this time, it's not, I don't see that having a direct impact on staffing. I mean, it always has an impact on staffing, but I can still operate classrooms.
And Lynn, do you worry that with the board approving this, it opens a floodgate of precedents?
I think that if you approve this and then we had another situation where we didn't have adequate staffing, we wouldn't approve in that situation. I think that would be your rationale for not.
Right, so it's kind of a first come, first served, you know, we can offer it while we can maintain staffing.
Right. I mean, the hope, I will, so it's not a part of the governor's executive order. There's not a ban on non-essential travel. It's strongly recommended that you don't travel at this point. So I would hope that most of our staff members would heed that warning and not go travel during this break. I do know that there are some people that are feeling that they really have to. There's for whatever reason, and I certainly would not want to exert authority over that independent decision making. As long as they return in a safe way, that's my priority. Is that I'd rather have them be upfront about it and meet the quarantine requirements upon their return.
That's where my line of thinking was coming. I feel like if we just said no, that they might go anyway and come back right in the building. Whereas I feel like if we allow it, then we at least know they're taking the necessary quarantine.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve that with, as long as Lynn, you're comfortable with it.
I wouldn't go straight to comfortable, but necessary. It's unfortunate, but I think it's a necessary situation.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Okay, Emily,
Aye.
Polly,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Jean Marie,
Aye.
and Mary is a reluctant aye. All right. Oh, Lynn, you're still up.
So we have another situation where we have a staff member in, am I asking the right board, Morgan? I have a staff member in the ERU-USD board, and there's a request from, it's a little bit complicated. There's a request from an SU staff member because the person is having to go out on FMLA and they don't have enough sick days to get them through their FMLA leave. So the way the master agreement is written is that it is, you could donate up to 2 days to someone who doesn't have adequate days. So the person reached out to me and said, I have plenty of days. I would like to donate a pretty high number of days, up to 25, to this staff member, and so that we can get them through the leave. So my initial thinking is that's kind of like putting the cart before the horse. We haven't asked broadly. The way it's written in the master agreement is that the principal would reach out to the staff and see if anyone is interested in donating to this person, and they could donate up to 2 days. That falls under the master agreement. So my thinking is, I don't have you as a board back together until April. So I wanted you to give me a preliminary direction. So in speaking with the union president, we both feel that it would make the most sense to put the request out to the rest of the staff first. And then if there's a number of days that are not covered by the staff request and this person wants to donate above the 2, that the board would allow that person to donate above the 2. But I think we shouldn't go straight to that. We should try to follow the language of the master agreement. And then if it's necessary, we could write a side letter for that circumstance. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yep, I like it.
Okay. Morgan, do you feel like I need to have, because the leave is going to begin before our next board meeting, do you feel like I need to have them make a motion that if in this circumstance there's not enough days, or just give me the direction and I come back in April?
I think a motion would be better.
Okay.
I can make that motion.
Okay, by roll, Emily.
What's the
Can I
motion?
get the motion?
Yeah, please.
Do you want me
So
to read it? Or
Someone want to take a crack at it? If you want to, Emily.
Well,
Well, I'm not sure if I'm not sure what the motion actually is, I guess. I'm not sure if we're saying yes up to 25 days.
So
I don't.
I think what you're saying is that you would allow this staff member, if there's a gap in what this individual needs for their FMLA leave, that this staff member would be allowed to donate up to 25 days to fill that gap.
Okay.
what she said.
Okay, so that's clear what the motion on the table is? Okay, so by roll, Emily?
Sorry, can I just interrupt?
Oh, of course,
I
Amanda.
Was allow staff member to donate 25 days to another staff member who needs additional days for FMLA.
Correct.
If
Lynn, do we
necessary.
want to clarify though, if other donations are not made from other staff, or however we want to word that?
Yeah, you could put that clause in the end. If after other staff members have donated days, there's still a need for more than 2 days. It's not really an easy one to word.
It's a little clunky, but it gets the job done. Okay, so 3 times the charm then by roll, Emily,
Hi.
Polly,
Aye.
Jean Marie,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
and Mary is an aye.
Okay, and then I have nothing under student. I will give you an update on the Portrait of a Grad. So we've been making good progress. The discovery work group has now met 2 times so far. I know that they're planning to meet again next week, and the group is reporting that they're on track to be able to make a report out to the board on April 21st. So their intention is to come to you with what they think are easy alignments possible revisions to the portrait of a grad in areas that we'll need to do some design team work to create a multi-year plan. So that's where we're at with the portrait of a grad. Jody, anything you want to add to that?
Nothing to add, nope.
Okay. Any questions? I'm very excited to see what they bring to you on the 21st. So I do need you to go into executive to discuss central office negotiations. I don't know if you want to do that now or if you want to wait until after the book discussion.
Why don't we, well, so we've got to do executive session for that and then breakout rooms for the book discussion, eh?
Yes.
So why don't we just do that discussion, that executive session now? Get that out of the way. That way Jean Marie can be a part of that.
Okay.
And then we'll move on from there. So I just need a motion to enter executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Emily,
Aye.
Polly,
Hi.
Jean Marie,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Mary is an aye.
And so I'll put people into the waiting room. You are out of executive session.
Okay, great. All right, there are no motions coming out of executive session. And so Lynn, next on your list here is equity book discussion.
Correct.
I just have a question about that. So I know that we're missing Kevin, and I think there's someone else in my group who's not here. But I didn't know without a full group if it made sense to move forward, because I know we really wanted to have discussion. So I just didn't know. I know there's some other absent people. So what everybody is feeling about moving forward with doing that tonight.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. I had Jean Marie, and I feel like we've been wanting to do this as a group for a very long time, and it's such important work that I feel like we should at least wait till we have a full board. There's
Yeah, so well, that certainly makes sense to me. I mean, we are down 2 board members. We'd hope to have 2 in each of the groups. Lynn, maybe we think about punting maybe into March.
Okay. I can do that. I can set something up for March.
Okay. We'll just make sure that everyone is able to attend.
Okay. Look for a survey for
Great.
available seats.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Do you have anything under other, Lynn?
I would just like to say though, before we go, that I do love the book. So I can't wait to talk about it. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it is. It's good.
My husband read it too.
Oh, nice.
I was like, oh, okay.
I'm reading it with my 14-year-old too.
Awesome.
All right. Lynn, did you have anything under other?
I don't have anything under other, just a reminder that we're trying to schedule our board retreat. So if you haven't done the survey for Courtney Fletcher, if you could do that, that would be helpful.
And Lynn, she sent out a second follow-up because I feel as though I did one, and then did she send out a second one?
Well, she did, because your schedules do not match very well. And we have really tried to find one date that worked for everybody, and we might have to let that go. But I told her to at least try in April, because we'd be fine to still go into April. But if we can't find a common date in April, we'll go back to picking a date that the majority of people could come to.
Okay.
How do you tell if you have or have not given your input on the poll?
I think when you go into the poll, your name will be listed if you've already given the input.
Oh, phew, I did it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so if you have nothing else, Lynn, then we can move on to central office updates. I was a little unclear as to why no reports were in the packet, but I
So
can
there-
just go through it.
Mary, there are no updates for this month because our intention was to keep this meeting really short. So I asked the directors not to submit reports. We had just talked about keeping it to what was on the agenda.
Okay. Do we want do we want to do a 5-minute check-in with each person, or no, or not even a couple minutes, or no, you just think we should skip central office updates for
I
this?
think that, you know, if there's anything, maybe if you just give an opportunity, if there's anything any of them want to report out on. I didn't know that this was an extra board meeting. It wasn't anticipated.
Right, of course. Okay. Well, then maybe I'll just open up the floor for a minute to central office staff. If there's anyone that had something that you wanted to tip us to or share, that's great. Or if any board members have a question for a particular person.
I wanted to let you all know, I actually did a board report. Yes, I didn't need to, but I wanted you all to know that on the FNESU VLA Facebook page, Caleb Shaw put together sort of a collection of the virtual event, and it was really fun. It went really well. So if you get a chance to go to our Facebook page and check out some of the interesting talents that our students have, it will be entertaining, I assure you.
I have to tell you, if you have a little bit of time, Gab is not wrong. I had so much fun looking at the talent, was it the talent show piece, Gabby, where they got to do the flip grids and you got to see their unique talents?
Yeah, and Kyle put them all together so that you don't have to watch every talent, because sometimes your idea of talent might not be a third grader's idea of talent. But he put together a really nice collection of stuff so that it's pretty concise.
And Gab, you said that you can link to it from the Facebook page, from your Facebook page. Perfect.
Yeah, they're all linked in there. I'll stick it in the chat here.
Great. Thank you so much. That's
I want to
awesome.
say have a great break, everybody. And thank you. You should take a big, long nap.
Well deserved. Anyone have anything else from central office updates? Okay.
Morgan.
So I sent out by email earlier today the proposed master agreement with the teachers. The only changes to that were, as we discussed, changing the dates, basically pushing everything forward a year. I don't know if folks have had a chance to review that. If you want to take action on that now, or wait until, when's our April meeting? Tend to push our contracts out in April.
I'm looking.
It's the 21st.
You're going to need to act before that.
And so Morgan, this is to approve that that master agreement for the year.
Yep, so the SU board would be the one to ratify it. I can quickly pull it up and screen share it and blow through the changes if you want. But it is literally just pushing forward the same terms out for another year. So off-step teachers get the same amount and on-step teachers would get a step.
Okay. And no change.
I'll make that motion.
Number of days or anything like that.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I feel pretty comfortable with going ahead and approving it. I mean, this seems like a really smart path forward for the year, given everything that is running in the background of this year. How do other board folks feel about that?
I feel the same. I would make a motion to approve.
Okay, well, I think Emily beat you to
Oh,
it, Polly.
did you?
No, that was
It was me. That was
But
me.
then I cut her off and had a question. So, and Rick, as our prime negotiator, you're good with this?
I am good with it.
Okay. Great. So the motion on the table is to go ahead and ratify, correct, Morgan? Ratify the master agreement.
The 2021 to 2022 school year master agreement.
Great. Okay. So by roll, Emily,
aye.
Polly,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
and Mary is an aye.
Thank you. So that you don't have to think about negotiations for another 8 months.
Nice. That's good stuff. Okay, so we are gonna wrap up. Wow, this is a record. Prior to 8, wrapping up. We've kind of talked about the book discussion. Lynn, you and I can put our heads together and make sure we can have a full board available for that. Anything else that folks want to set for future agenda items? Okay, well then, if nothing further, I need just a motion to end the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
All right, and just give a thumbs up and a wave, folks. Good night. Thank you, everyone. Have a great break.